Invest in daughters, sisters, and wives. They're gonna change our lives. In women, in girls. They'll make a better world. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. And now here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Welcome to this week's edition of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. As you know, we are all about funding women and empowering them. Today, I have on a special guest. She is the CEO at Simmons University, Institute for Inclusive Leadership. Please welcome to the show, Susan Brady. Hi, Susan. How are you?
Hi, Catherine. I'm fine, thanks. Thank you for having me today.
We were talking about what a mouthful that title is, but I got it.
You got it. You did great.
Let's also say that you have another title. So let's do that too, which is Deloitte Ellen Gabriel Chair for Women in Leadership at Simmons University. So we're going to talk about that too.
Right.
I always like to first talk about, where were you born? Where are you now? Give us a little background of how you ended up at Simmons.
Oh, wow. Great. So I was born in the state of Connecticut. I'm a New Englander, sort of at heart, but when I was two, I moved to the Atlantic island of Martha's Vineyard, and that's where I grew up. So I went to Little Eggertown Elementary School and Martha's Vineyard Regional High School, and was raised by my parents divorced when I was little, and my dad lived year-round on the vineyard. My mom and stepdad, who I remained very close with during my life, lived back in Connecticut, and I was raised on a farm on an island by a single father.
Oh, wow.
How I got from there to,
that's a long stretch. And I did notice that you were, had grown up in Martha's Vineyard. Had just gone there for the first time a couple years ago. Took my family, my niece and nephews.
What'd you think?
And there was 13 of us all together. It was so fun. It was a great experience. So love it there. And it seems like that would be really interesting growing up on an island like that.
I wonder if the older I get, the more connections I see between, my youth and my choices since then. I just went back to the vineyard a couple of weeks ago with my significant other, and the island is a very diverse place, actually, and it's actually a pretty inclusive place. And I think it's almost like a small Midwestern town tucked there, right, 7 miles off the coast of Cape Cod. But obviously, there's something upside down when you have one parent, right? And there's something upside down when you're a girl raised by a father. And I, faced my own version of exclusion and, sort of being different, feeling different at an early age. And I definitely think that's influenced my path to where I am now.
Yeah, wanting people to be inclusive. Yeah. I mean, I do think our backgrounds definitely always influence what we do in life. I know, being a gay woman, I have always been for the underdog because I think gay people feel that way. And I think it definitely influences who we are. And so I want to talk about, how you made the leap into working at Simmons. And also, I just want to mention that you had shared with me such an interesting tidbit that Simmons University was the first university to offer women MBA programs. That's incredible. What year was that?
Oh, gosh. That had to have been in the late 80s, early 90s. Late 80s when women couldn't get into MBA programs. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. So we have sunsetted our women-only MBA.
But that wasn't that long ago. That's crazy.
That wasn't that long ago. Simmons is an interesting place. For those listeners who haven't heard of Simmons University, Simmons University is a small liberal arts college in the heart of Boston. It is a women's-centered college and now a university. And we have a total of about 8,000 students, about six, I'd say more than six or 7 graduate level students, and the rest undergrad. And the interesting thing about Simmons is we have held a mantle of acceptance for a very long time. When those of the Jewish faith couldn't apply to other higher education institutions, Simmons welcomed those of the Jewish faith. Same thing with those who are African American and now Black, Indigenous people of color. And we accept a lot of people who are in transition, Catherine, and who identify. We allow our students to identify their own gender, and so it's a welcoming place, and it's still women centered. So we started the first women's leadership conference that I know of in 1979, and it's consecutively run for 43 years. So usually it's the springtime. This year it's April, and we've got a lot of firsts. I stand on the shoulder.
I think like 10,000 people attend that, right?
Yeah. So we're expecting. It's funny. I came when we stood up the Institute for Inclusive Leadership. I mean, I honestly, I stand on the shoulders of giants. I mean, those who went before me. There's a seminal work on women's leadership called The Managerial Woman. I mean, this goes back to how do I navigate as a female, as a woman, if I woke up woman in the working world, because it was, made by and for men. And that was 40 years ago, right? So coming to Simmons is like, it's known in the arena of women's leadership as having a very special place in forwarding thinking about how women can advance in the workplace. And I feel very proud to be here. And yeah, when I got here, we were in the pre-pandemic conference world where the fire code prohibited us from selling more than 3,000 seats. And I said, well, it's hard to stand up an institute for inclusion and inclusive leadership and then turn people away, right? So I chartered the team and said, come on, we're going to figure this out. We did live streaming, but that's like being a voyeur. It's like over there, that event's happening and you're really on the outside. And I said, that's not what we want. And, as the world turned, this horrific global pandemic came about, and with it offered really interesting opportunities to flex our muscles to show up in different ways for more people. So the first year we had 5 weeks to flip a 4,000 person event to an online, fully engaged event. It looked a lot like this. Our partners at Cisco helped us. Our partners at Video Partnership, who knew about streaming and all that. And I have to tell you, like, it's been so amazing what we've been able to.
That's how you got 10,000, because you did.
That's how we've grown. I was predicting this year 10,000. We'll have a little less than 10,000, but it's significant. It's a significant leadership conference.
Absolutely. So the Institute itself, what does it do and how do people participate?
So thanks for asking the question. The Simmons, so let me just back up and tell you that Simmons University was founded by John Simmons, who bequeathed his entire estate to the development of a women's college for one reason, and that was to help women create their own independent livelihood. And the reason why John Simmons did this is because he figured out that men were sort of the same relative sizes, and he basically democratized the male suit. And so instead of having to be completely custom tailored, he figured out, it was like pre-Brooks Brothers, he figured out, gosh, there's some sizes, and the people that sewed and put the suits together were, of course, females working from their homes. And he realized early on that this was really discrepant, and he wanted to fix this. And so, the whole institution was created so that women could earn their own income, their own livelihood. And this
is an incredible story. What an amazing man.
What an amazing man. And I got to tell you, like Catherine, since then, of course, we're all talking about allyship and there's so many really well-intended men who wake up male. That wasn't their fault. They woke up male, just like I woke up female. And they don't know what they're supposed to do about this whole gender disparity thing, right? And so, now male allies have a real role to play in the parity for women. And I'm interested in economic parity for women, economic advancement for women. And so he was a male ally before the term male ally was in the English, lexicon, so that's kind of just a cool tidbit. But
maybe in the dictionary it says male ally and has his name. Who knows?
Yeah, he should be right there.
It should.
I feel proud about that. And I will say that the Institute for Inclusive Leadership came to be because we had this conference, that was a wonderful success for 40, some odd years before I got here. And we had a small but mighty executive education business that no one knew about, but that was busy and doing pretty well. And we had some research, but these were operating in different arms of the university. And so the president at the time, Helen Drinan, thought, what would be possible if we put these together and then built from there? And I actually refer to it as the Institute Garden, because I pictured the conference as just this giant, gorgeous tree. And when I came here, it felt like there was a lot of wide open, very rich soil in which we could plant all sorts of cool things. And we have. And so where we started and where we are right now is we are focusing on mainly two facets of work. One is around helping women to step into their full potential, to really arrive and thrive in their working life, in their professional life. And the other is to equip and demystify allies. So allyship in general, we find is sort of confusing to people. So what does it mean to walk as an inclusive leader and to pay attention in different ways? And so we want to make this simple. So we've got the Better Understanding podcast, which I host, about demystifying what inclusive leadership is. And we have a great blog. We do certificate courses for women and for allies. Obviously, we have our big conference. And then we do a fair amount of corporate education, custom corporate education, where we'll partner with companies who want to design a version of an experience for their leaders, specific either for women or specific for allies. And so
obviously Deloitte is one of those.
Yes, so we have this great relationship with Deloitte. And recently I just wrote a book behind me. It's just no small little advertisement. The Arrive and Thrive 7 Impactful Practices to Navigating Leadership for Women is co-written by the now president of Simmons University, Lynn Perry-Wooten, who is an African-American scholar. She spent years at the University of Michigan and worked through the Ross School of Business, and then went on to serve an administrative role at Cornell, and came here to the highest position in academic leadership to preside at Simmons. And what an honor it's been to partner with her in that capacity. I also report to her, right? So the Institute is, I think of the Institute as like a little disruptive skunks work here at Simmons, because we're not really, no one depends on us day to day to run the university, and vice versa. But the team here, it works mainly with corporate clients. And then my other co-author is executive chair of the board of Deloitte, Janet Foudy, who has had an incredible trajectory of a career. And I've learned a lot from both women writing this book with them. So collectively, we have got 85 years, Catherine, of leadership experience as women, making it to the top of our professions. And so landing on the 7 practices has been really exciting, and we're sort of in the throes. So it was part of, all right, truth be told, I am not an academic. So I'm a newcomer to the academic scene and don't consider myself an academic. I consider myself a practitioner and a businesswoman. And when I was awarded the chair the Deloitte Ellen Gabriel Chair, my first thought was, what do I have to do to be worthy of said chair? Like, what does one do when they get a chair, and is there an actual chair? Like, I really didn't know. And I read about Ellen Gabriel, who was a pioneer at Deloitte, a female leader who started Deloitte's women's efforts, in the United States. And she partnered with Simmons years ago to create a custom course for Deloitte. And she had my understanding is that she had 4 rounds and won 3 of them with breast cancer and lost her 4th battle. And her colleagues created this endowed chair in her honor.
Oh.
And I got the chills just thinking about it. So when I got awarded the Deloitte chair and asked, what is it that I need to do? And I was told, pick a project. I had this really cool conversation with 2 Deloitte very senior women, Susan Esper from the Boston office and Terry Cooper, who's the chief diversity officer, and Helen Drynan, who was the president at the time. And it came to be that we talked about what it's like to be as a senior woman leader. Mm-hmm. And how we still need support. We still need to be conscious and intentional. We still need to practice things like courage and resilience and authenticity. And one thing led to another. And, this idea of this book emerged. And so, and they recommended Lynn and Janet, and we got on the phone to see if we all got along, and we had a ball. And next thing you know, I called my friends at McGraw-Hill and they said, yes, we will publish this. And here we are. So it's just been
I love that. And, I know you've published, this is your 4th book,
Mm-hmm.
Arrive and Thrive, I understand, is about intentional living. So what does that mean, and who would this book be for? It sounds like it's for women who are successful business women, like you said, maybe 40, 50 plus. Is that the demographic for this book?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's less about arriving and more about how can we thrive when we've arrived at a station in our life where we feel like, gosh, there was a time when I thought if I got here, I will feel like I've arrived and I'm not really thriving, So too often our work cultures encourage women to get their foot in the door, and then we sort of leave women without support once they step in. So we wrote Arrive and Thrive to change that. And it's the books really are attempt, Catherine, to start these honest conversations, help women get the resources and advice and support they need to thrive as leaders. And
so this might be like women CEOs, women in managerial positions. They would have this book.
All right, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't necessarily think the author trio agrees on who this book is for. I want this book to be given to every woman of every age, because I think the practices apply no matter how old you are, how much experience you have.
Okay.
Frankly, I think the practices apply to all genders, no matter how you identify even.
Right.
And the tone in which we wrote it and the examples we give and the thriver's wisdom in each chapter, our C-level, executive thriver wisdom, is meant for probably a more seasoned reader. And it's my hope that you would read it and say, I want to give this to my mentee who's 20 years younger, maybe, right? Who's just starting out in her career, or so I can see it. We're also, look, there's going to be an Arrive and Thrive summer camp someday. We're going to take this work and get it to as many generations and as many girls and women as possible.
I love that. Okay. So it's for any age, any profession. It's just to empower women with these tools.
Yep.
Do you want to share any of the tools with us? Maybe one of them?
Oh, sure. The 7 practices are, not meant to be linear. But they work collectively together. So the first practice is investing in your best self. I'll come back to that. Embracing authenticity is the second. Cultivating courage, fostering resilience, inspiring a bold vision, creating a healthy team environment, and then committing to the work of an inclusive leader. So the 7 practices, it's a really tool-rich book. Essentially, I mean, there's several books there's whole libraries on each of the practices. And what we wanted to do was distill it all down. It's a distillation of the greatest hits, plus our wisdom, plus the wisdom of some incredible group of contributors who all are sitting CEOs of companies. And then, wow, we went to Indra. It was funny. We went to Indra Nui, of the former chairman of PepsiCo, to say, would you pick a couple or pick one practice that you think has influenced your career, and can we feature you as a thriver? And she said no, that all 7 are equally important.
Right.
And then and
she would know. She's amazing.
She's amazing. And so she agreed to write the foreword to the book about all 7 practices. I will say, though, Catherine, my first 3 books are really about the inside job of leadership and how we show up and how we are. And I believe, what we think and feel drives what we say and do. And we don't spend enough time thinking about what we think and feel, and the impact to ourselves and others. And so I believe, and and it'll become clear in a future graphic depicting the 7 practices, that the work of investing and returning to your best self does serve as a prerequisite to the other 6 practices.
My favorite one that you mentioned was authenticity. I think if
Mhm.
someone's not living an authentic life, they're not living a full and happy life. So if I had to pick one, only because I know they're all important, but that's the one that stood out to me is.
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because I think this chapter was inspired for me, by a woman who was not open about her, it wasn't a marriage until after she came out, but she was closeted. I mean, she was a gay woman and a very senior leader at a Fortune 100 company, in the legal profession. And she spent a lot of time sort of making sure no one really knew who she was, because she thought there was going to be risk. And she came to
one. And there may have been, but the funny thing is, usually the risks that people worry about are not as bad as the rewards. And I bet she felt that.
I mean, she actually called me when she came out after 27 years of working.
I get
right?
it.
And
it's a big, heavy burden to carry around. There's no way somebody can thrive personally or professionally if they're not being their authentic self. And
I mean, this is my definition of embracing authenticity. Ready? Be you. And then, if you don't get that, just go to the wonderful Carla Harris, who will make sure you understand what this really is about. And it's, she's the managing director and senior client advisor at Morgan Stanley. I mean, she's a vice chair. She's a big muck. Carla, I go to the church of Carla Harris. She's one of my mentors and inspirers. And she says, by definition, your authenticity is your competitive advantage. Like, nobody can be you the way that you can be.
Absolutely. I love that. I have a friend that always says, you do you.
You do you.
So just to bring this back to Arrive and Thrive and your Leadership Institute, Integrated Leadership Institute, who, based on listening to our conversation today, could be a good candidate to come participate in that program? Do people come from different corporate leadership positions to the Institute to take these various programs? Is that who takes those programs?
We get entrepreneurs, we get, we get women who are, who own their own businesses. And we have a lot of women sent by corporations, many of whom, would sponsor our conference, like Dell, like Cisco, like Liberty Mutual, and many, many others. And so, we do provide open enrollment kind of work. The Strategic Leadership for Women certificate program, I think, is one of these sort of quasi timeouts where we do it in little pieces over the course of time, now that it's all virtual. And it's a real opportunity for women to take pause and look at what they really want in their life, I find that the 7 practices go hand in hand with an ongoing arrival. We don't stop growing, Catherine, as you know. We're constantly arriving and thriving, and we're going to have to pick up and put down different practices along the way, depending upon what we're navigating.
Yes.
And so I think, if anyone who's listening to this podcast is feeling like, I'm at a precipice for change, and or I feel like I need to disrupt myself, or I feel like I've survived, the happenings of the last couple of years, and I need a boost. It's an injection of clarity and of intention about how we show up professionally in our lives and the choices we make.
I love that. So there's really 3 things we want as a takeaway today. One is people can pick up your book, Arrive and Thrive. I take it that's on Amazon.
It's available in bookstores and airports and everywhere. All that jazz. Yeah.
Beautiful, but easy access to it. People can check out your leadership program, inclusive leadership program.
It's just inclusiveleadership.com. Yep, inclusiveleadership.com. www.inclusiveleadership.com will get you all the
leadership.com. What a great website.
First thing I purchased the URL.
I love that. Smart
I can't
girl.
believe it was available.
A smart girl, inclusiveleadership.com. And then also, you have your annual event. Would they just find that at the Simmons site, or where do they find that?
So same website, inclusiveleadership.com.
Oh, beautiful.
And
easy.
Simmons Leadership. And then more about Arrive and Thrive is at arriveandthrive.com.
Arriveandthrive.com. Okay, beautiful. And, I imagine some young women, thinking of what university they're going to go to. I would be like, oh my God, I would totally check out Simmons University. Look at the history of it. And it's so unique and so pro-women driven. I think it's just great. I think your program's great. The university sounds amazing. Thanks for sharing that history about it. How can people find you all also on social media?
Yes, so we have a Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook account for the Institute for Inclusive Leadership. I also I use my maiden name, Catherine. There's a lot of Susan Brady's out there, so I use my maiden name MacKenty. So it's Susan MacKenty Brady is my full name, and I am available on LinkedIn and Twitter. And I would love to come one, come all. We want to be inspiring and provide education and connection.
Thank you so much for all the incredible work that you're doing. I'm so glad that Simmons is on my radar now. I'm going to be sharing that with everybody.
We have so many cool people who are affiliated with Simmons University. I mean, it's mind-boggling. The generations and just the ecosystem of support for this university. We're right in the Fenway area. Have you been?
Oh yeah, I've been to Boston. I know that Fenway area.
We're right in the Emerald Necklace.
Okay,
right
next time I'm in Boston, I got to go check that out.
Come see me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. My nephew lives in Boston. Love Boston. So you obviously can follow us also at She Angel Investors and visit our website. Also, I'm on Instagram, Catherine Gray, Invest in Her, as well as LinkedIn. Please check us both out and visit with us. We both love to collaborate with other women who are wanting to make the world a better place. Susan, thank you so much for the work you're doing, and thank you for being a guest today. Everybody, make it a great week. And remember to check out the Wealthy Women Summit put on by our podcast sponsor, the Bra Network. Here's a message from their founder, Carrie Murray.
I know we've all been to hundreds of conferences. Just hearing the word conference and you can picture the lanyard and the name tag and the taste of cold coffee. You wrap up, you post on Instagram, maybe you get a swag bag. You leave thinking, well, now that I'm empowered, what's next? How does this help my growth, both personally and professionally? Well, it's time to change things up. It's time to shake things out. Prosperity plus abundance. Flourish plus consciousness. That is the Wealthy Women Summit, set for August 25th and 26th in the beautiful Long Beach Harbor. Right next to the Queen Mary, docked is the Sir Winston Yacht, because nothing says a conference about wealth than a conference that takes place on a yacht. We are going to have panels and speakers and workshops on all the different decks, everything to help you cultivate a life that is more than just wealth meaning the money you have in the bank, but wealth in mind and body, wealth in leadership and growth, wealth in health, wealth in life. We want to provide you with a full experience of living a wealthy lifestyle. Now, I want you to head over to the wewosummit.com website. It's WeWo, WEWO, summit.com, and use promo code INVEST to get 15% off your ticket to this very unique experience. See you this summer.
Remember, if you're looking to launch a business or grow your business, check out our e-course, 6 Ways to Fund Your Business, available at sheangelinvestors.com.
Our theme music was created and produced by